Hi, and hello also to you and also your families who are not listening to this unless they are, which, well, this episode, it wouldn't be that big of a mistake, but most episodes, you probably don't want to play this in front of your family. I say some pretty horrible things sometimes, and sometimes my guests do too, but those are the best episodes, in my opinion, in my meager esteem. So today's Wednesday. It's 1 p.m. I'm sitting here in my room slash my mom's living room. Oh, joy is life. I know. I'm grateful. I'm not homeless or living in the projects again or living in a family's living room again. I'm just happy that I don't have to pay rent and I can afford to save up some money so I can go on tour and hopefully see your shining cherubic faces in the audience. Hopefully someday. Maybe not this tour, but some other tour. This tour is going to be interesting. The dates are starting to populate. I'm finally getting some gigs, and yeah, I don't know where I'm going to sleep. I mean, I can afford an Airbnb every now and again, but definitely not for most of the trip. This is going to be about 4 or 5 weeks on the road, and at least part of it's going to be far enough south that the winter's not going to be a huge issue, hopefully. But yeah, I'd rather not have to sleep in my car when possible, just because I don't even care. From a comfort perspective, the car is not that bad, but from a legal perspective, I don't want to get the car broken into or have like people trying to stick a gun at the window and be like, "Open up, give us your stuff, you fuck." Yeah, I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna crash on some couches. Hopefully, some comedians will be very nice and I'll offer up their linty couches to me. Hopefully that happens, and I just got verified on couch surfing, so I'm gonna try to email the fuck out of some people, and hopefully that could be a potential avenue to not sleeping in the car. Like I said, I have no problem with sleeping in the car as long as there's a place that's safe to sleep in the car. It's sketchy. Like I guess Walmart parking lots is a good place, and then I'll go to YMCA's to shower, and maybe even sauna if they are a legit YMCA. Oh man, I need to get in the sauna. That's what my life is missing. Sweating with the other people, sweating with strangers. Yeah. But anyway, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who left a review on iTunes. I can't say how much I appreciate that. It really helps, like, it show up in the search on iTunes. So thank you so much to Plainview Comedy. I believe your name's Andrew. Thank you to 25th Century Life. I don't know what your IG handles are because for most of you, it's not the same as your Apple handles. So if you want to shout out to your Instagram, DM me a screenshot, or even better, email me a screenshot at Weirdball, WEIRDBALL, 3L's at gmail.com. Weirdball with 3L's at gmail.com. Send me a screenshot of your iTunes review or even rating or subscription or whatever, and I'll give you a shout out to whatever you want, your Instagram or your Twitter or your YouTube channel or whatever. Okay, so the rest of you, Nero Von Doom, thank you, man. All you guys wrote such sweet things. Like, if you even half mean what you're saying, I'm like, I just can't believe it. Like, because sometimes I feel like I'm doing this in a vacuum and no one's really enjoying it. So it means a lot. Thank you, I Stand Bearded. I know for sure that's your Instagram name, so thank you, man. for listening. It means a lot. And BDog5655. I don't want to read all the numbers because that might be your phone number. That's 7 digits. So, but thank you, BDog. I'm curious who BDog is. Crackwinda. Thank you, Crackwinda. I don't know who that is either. What else? Yeah. I just wanna plug some dates. If you want to look at all my dates, just go to weirdball.com/tour. TOUR is how you spell tour, in case you were wondering. Yeah, this should come out tomorrow night. Oh yeah, by the way, the reason why it's taken so freaking long for the latest episode of Weirdball, I was very good for a good, I don't know, 3 months of releasing this shit weekly. More than 3 months, I think. I'm on the weekly tip, and the reason it's been a couple weeks is my laptop, it died. So I just finally got a new laptop. Yeah, that's on credit. That's on credit. I'm gonna be paying this shit off for a while. But yeah, I got a new laptop, and yeah, so hopefully I'm not premature in recording this, because I'm gonna have to learn a whole new audio program. I used to know how to use Logic, but it's been a minute for sure, man. It's pretty different from Ableton, which is what I was using to edit. Very fascinating stuff for all you people who have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm excited. Now I can release. I have a backlog. I got some good guests to release their episodes, and some sketches, some real good sketch episodes, and I need to record more meditation episodes, but I gotta find some good guests who can. Ooh, maybe. Oh well. I wonder how hard it will be to release this while I'm on tour. Gotta find some internet cafes and get this shit done. Get it done. And some good guests. I wonder if I'm gonna find any good guests along the road. 'Cause yeah, I'm gonna try. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, tour dates. Okay, I should be the night I'm releasing this, the 26th of October. I almost said November. I'm fucking in the future. They say you're anxious if you're living in the future, and you're depressed if you're living in the past. But if you're living in the present, well, you're like a pheasant. You're perfectly content, and you're paying your rent. Yeah, they don't say the stuff about the pheasant or the rent, but they say, yeah, you get the idea. Oh yeah, so Draft Industries in Beacon on October 26th. Hopefully that's tonight, though it's probably not tonight for everyone who's going to be listening to this, because most of you don't get this the day it's out, which it's completely understandable. I don't hold it against you at all, except for on this case, because it'd be lovely to see your faces if you live near Beacon, which almost none of you do. Which is, okay, anyway, upstate New York. Okay, Greenwich Village Comedy Club, October 30th. Salzy in Brooklyn, November 1st. Laugh Junkies in White Plains, New York, November 3rd. My show, the Weirdball Comedy Show in Bushwick at the Platform, 8:30 p.m., November 4th. I'll be at New York Comedy Club at Roddy McKinnis's Word of Mouth show, 9 p.m. Sunday, November 5th. And then Nabe in Harlem, 8 p.m. And at Yonkers Comedy Club, November 26th at 8 p.m., I believe. And then all the tour dates on the road, it's far in advance. But the first one's December 2nd in Philly. Then I'll be in Richmond, Wilmington, Charleston, Baton Rouge, Jacksonville, all them beautiful places, and you can check out the details of that on the site. What else do I want to say to y'all? Oh man, I don't really ever know. I'm drinking my fifth cup of coffee. At this point, I think the coffee is not helping me. I just, the first 2 cups tasted so goddamn good. The third one tasted fair, and this one just tastes like death. You hear that? That's the sound of coffee being ingested against my own will. Anyway, I'll say some more in the outro about what's been going on in my life recently. And yeah, without further ado, here is a song, a song by some guys I went to college with for music. Their band was is called Just the Tip. Damien Jackson is on guitar. He's a great guy. He's a good music producer. Sam Smith's on bass. I forgot the drummer's name. My bad. But yeah, the song's called Life Tips. It's a play on words because the band's called well, you get it. It's obvious and not that funny, but it's a good song. Enjoy it. And oh yeah, my guest. Well, I think we introduce him. Yeah, we do. Okay, without further ado, episode 57 of Weirdball, or the Weirdball podcast, depending on my mood. myself, and can
You can hear me now.
Are you gonna speak that softly?
Not always, but right now. I just think this will help get us in the mood.
Okay. We're using the quinoa and beans as a lubricant. Is that what's happening?
Oh my. Oh my. I'm a teacher. Unacceptable. So wait, have we started? This is the podcast we started? I don't know if you have like a thing you do at the beginning.
No, I have nothing. I usually intersperse it with music.
Okay.
That relates.
What do you think we'll be going for, sound-wise? What's the palette of this podcast?
I don't know. It kind of depends on what we talk about and just random.
Because I could talk about jazz for like 3 hours if you just want to like
just
alienate your entire audience.
Let's save that for the cherry on top.
Okay.
Let's save the alienation for the end.
There we go. We should introduce ourselves, right?
Sure. I mean, well, this is probably gonna be like episode 50 something, so they know me. I'm Andrew Steiner. I'll just introduce myself just to be weird.
Yeah.
Hey guys, now you've been listening for several episodes. Don't you want to know who you've been listening to?
My name is James Stamboni. Andrew and I went to middle school, kind of, not really. It's an interesting story we'll get into together.
Yeah.
And I'm a artist and was a art teacher, high school art teacher. Hope to be that again, but currently I'm disabled, and we'll talk about that as well, probably.
Yeah, we don't have to be so formal. You can just say whatever you want to say.
All right. So, yeah, Clearview first, you think?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what age did you start going to Clearview?
I was young. I got kicked out of public school in first grade after throwing a desk at my teacher during math class.
Holy shit, you were a thrower too?
Yeah, I was a thrower.
I was a chair thrower.
Oh man, yeah, it was blind rage. Like, I mean, I don't know how I did it. Like, body size compared to like the size of that desk. I mean, it must have been some serious math.
Yeah, that was cool. You must have done like what are the guys who throw the
the caber toss?
Yeah, you must have just like taught. No, I was thinking the Olympic guys.
Yeah, that's. I think it's an Olympic event. If it's not, it should be.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. No, I threw a chair at the vice principal in first grade. I want to say in a yeshiva in a Hebrew academy.
Well, you know, the vice principal is worth more points than a classroom teacher, so I think you made up for the size of your object.
Grand Theft Auto grade school edition.
Yeah, no, it was an overhand toss. I blacked out during that. I have no actual memory of it, but I strongly feel it was an overhand toss.
Do you remember what sparked the anger?
Oh, it was just math. It had to be math. Like, they made, you know, I had my own way of figuring things out, and I was being made to do it their way, like all the other children, but clearly I was special. And, yeah. I mean, that's just, I had emotional issues when I was a kid. I definitely, and like being a teacher now, I can definitely say like, yeah, I was a horrible disruption to the classroom. I was also in first grade, and like first graders are, I mean, I don't know. I have no memory of what it was like to be there, and I teach high school, so I have no frame of reference for that. But I don't feel like my behavior was terribly insane for a kid of that age, but definitely like I had been marked as different by the students prior to my being kicked out of public school, and certainly I'd created problems for administration. So that's what happened. It might have happened differently if it happened today or 10 years later, but that's how the school district dealt with it at the time.
I feel like we might have similar reasons for freaking out, like as kids. You know, like I feel like we both had overbearing fathers. You know,
at the time, I mean, my father's been a godsend to me now, like with my current like physical state. Definitely there was some serious fear of God, and by God I mean my father. At the time, but no, I think I was just like, I definitely like am a person who at that age did not process like social cues, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
profound rage to me. And
Yeah.
I can't blame that on my father. I think that's just how I am. Like, I'm still an
Huh.
angry person. It's just like all geared towards like political things and like feelings of like injustice and stuff like that.
See, I totally blame my father still.
Okay.
I mean, not completely. Obviously, we're all responsible for our own behavior.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
not when you're like 6.
yeah, well, less, way less then, and then gradually more so.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just feel like I was diagnosed with ODD. Did you get that too?
Oh, I had everything. ADD, ADHD, Asperger's is something that my family thinks makes more sense. Although, like, I'm definitely a very empathetic and artistically inclined
Mm-hmm.
Aspergerite, if I am. And, like, none of the things fit perfectly.
Yeah.
It was all just based on what pills they wanted to put in me, I think.
Basically, what they should have diagnosed us with is being interesting people.
Yeah. Well, you were hyperactive. Like, I think I can say that. And I probably was too. I think we were
Yeah.
both hyperactive.
Yeah, but I mean, if I was just allowed to be normally active, I don't think the hyper would have happened.
Oh, you feel like your home environment, like you were punished for being like hyperactive.
No, I just think being in a school as a young kid
Oh.
is not necessarily what the body craves at that age, at least for me.
Well, that's certainly true. I mean, yeah, there's certainly a truth to that. And some kids, like, have their behavior cultivated and brainwashed more readily than others, and some of us resist.
Yeah.
So,
I think I totally would have been a good student if I were able to co-design my lesson plan. You know what I mean?
well, that's like what the Montessori people do, and that's certainly not what the program was at Clearview. But there are schools dedicated to that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I'm sorry then that like your parents or the other adults in your life didn't get you into that setting if that's what you really needed.
You know what was crazy is that when I got expelled for the first time in preschool,
Mm-hmm.
I was put in a school for kindergarten, and I did great there. Like
Yeah.
it was I had a teacher, like a homeroom teacher, who was very respectful of the kids, which I feel like is lacking in most teachers.
Mm.
You know, like trying to see it from the kids' perspective and like seeing kids not as significantly lower and less valuable as yourself.
I imagine at the lower grades it's particularly a problem. I mean, like I don't know. I can't speak too publicly about certain things, but as someone who has worked in a high school, like I mean, I can't claim to be empathetic to every student's situation because I think that's impossible. It'd be
Mhm.
pretentious to claim otherwise. But like I definitely cared about every kid in my room, and like I was very militant towards myself about like, if a kid is misbehaving, why?
Yeah.
And how can I change things so that this is not a problem for them and so that they become a functioning part of the classroom?
Right, right.
But, that certainly is a newer attitude in teaching. And I think when we were kids, especially if you had older teachers, like it just wasn't the culture.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Um,
So anyway, you were really young when you went to Clearview then.
yeah, I was. And I didn't leave until I was 15, 16.
Okay. And
Yeah, I left at the end of what would have been 10th grade, going into 11th.
word. Oh yeah, I think I left ninth grade.
You left earlier, which is a good time to leave if you're gonna.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It was weird. I was there for half a day the first year, and I was supposed to be taking some classes at Clearview,
Mm-hmm.
like earth science. It was so lackadaisical the way they were teaching me earth science. Like I had no clue what the hell I was doing.
Well, and I'll give my father credit to that. One of the things about Clearview that my father often criticized is that he felt that their focus on emotional or psychological treatment eclipsed the addressing of academic subjects. And this is actually something else I wanted to touch on. Because we're both intelligent people,
Mm-hmm.
and Clearview was really a very wide range of students with special needs, and I would say there were a handful of us that were highly intelligent, highly cognitively attuned people, and then a lot of kids had serious cognitive issues
Yeah.
as well as emotional. And so the classroom was, grouped to the collective needs, and our needs. I mean, there were efforts made, but my father always pushed very hard that he felt that more effort needed to be made to address, our minds.
Yeah, for sure. And it also what well actually before we get into that, I kind of want to set the stage like let people picture what Clearview was like. So we had what, like 3 teachers per classroom of what, 8, 6?
I think it got as high as 11, but
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty on the mark.
And most of the teachers were, not most, but like a lot of them were young, just out of school, just trying to get a resume going, I guess.
Generally, there was each classroom had a head teacher who was like more experienced, and yeah, I got the impression that a lot of the other teachers, I don't know if it was quite an internship thing, but they might not have had like a full teaching license. I don't know if that's true. I would have to go check that. I'm speaking out of my buttocks right now. That's teacher speak for.
Yeah. I remember in the summer, though, at least one 19-year-old kid who was working with us, who was awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely didn't have a teaching license.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there were 2 aides and a classroom teacher, and you stuck with I mean, this is the elementary school model, but you stuck with basically your one teacher the whole day, except that extended all the way through high school grades, and the grades weren't really separated. You were grouped based on ability and developmental level,
Yeah.
as well as age, like the intersection of all 3.
Yeah, and it was like a very beautiful grounds, right? It was 2 buildings.
I think 3 for
can't
some
even-
reason. There
yeah,
were
I
2
think-
main buildings, and I
yeah.
think there were 2 main buildings. I think they've built a third one since. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh man, I want to get into that. Like what Clearview's like now. I have no idea. But anyway, so yeah, it was a newer building, and then like an old, like, what would you call it, neoclassical? Like that was a beautiful building.
Yeah.
It's like a mansion basically, and we're in like northern Westchester in a very, very wealthy area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gate. It's like had a big walls around it, and yeah, I mean, we had like a little playground and a recess area.
There were like 2 different playgrounds, I remember.
okay.
And they like based on, because they had recess all the way through the higher grades, because a lot of the kids needed it to blow
Right.
off steam.
Oh yeah, we had a baseball diamond, right?
Yeah, we did.
Holy
down on
shit.
the field. Yeah.
There was like a giant field. I forgot about that place.
Yeah, we had field day and stuff like that.
Like my only recollection of that field was one of the severely autistic kids. We were playing softball, and then I just remember him like twiddling his ears and like being like, "I'm acting foolish today." I was just like, and I just remember thinking it was hilarious. And I don't know.
Oh my god. There are layers to that if you take it out of context. Those layers are wonderful and terrible at the same time.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh no, I'm not going down this route. I'm a teacher.
I'm so curious.
That's something that we could talk about off mic, but
Okay.
just coded language in general.
Yeah.
Oh,
Twiddling his ears. I got it. I got you.
wow. I think even the phrase "I'm feeling foolish today" is just a great euphemism, which is obviously not how the kid intended it. But I don't know which kid this was. I can't remember it. So just the image in my head of any one of the hundreds of students I've taught grinning to themselves and saying "I'm feeling foolish today" is just, oh my god.
Twiddling a flappy part of their body.
Well, that's inappropriate. I'm not going there. That's inappropriate.
So anyway, yeah, so it was a pretty luxurious, beautiful grounds. There was a library. Mr. Barnes was kind of the Professor X of...
He is, and he's still in touch with me. He's been very concerned about my health.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just an all around great dude. And before my health went downhill, he was concerned about, my teaching career, about my artwork. He definitely took an interest in me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't... Like, I think I always projected some kind of nefarious motives on most of the staff.
That you felt that they had nefarious motives?
Kinda, yeah.
That's easy to do when you're a kid.
Yeah, because it just felt like a conspiracy to like keep me there forever, and like, why am I trapped in this weird environment?
Well, that's like how mental health works in general. Like, I mean, I was briefly hospitalized because I publicly spoke about some of my frustrations with my disability. And, the sum total of that was they basically implied that I couldn't leave if I didn't try their drugs. And because I was denied access to understanding the potential side effects and interactions of the drug, I actually had a secondary reaction that made my disability much worse.
Jeez.
And I just like I started watching the Iron Fist show today, and the first like spoilers, in like early episodes, the character is briefly institutionalized, and watching that really gives me shakes because like. Yeah, it's dramatized and it's heavier than what I dealt with, but the attitude of once you're in there, like you're a crazy person.
I would have to say, if I'm scared of one thing over everything else, it'd be being institutionalized.
Yeah.
Just the most terrifying thing possible.
Like, your self-knowledge like does not matter. Like you're a crazy person, so they get to make all the decisions about you.
And we get to make you crazier by giving you drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That the mental health facilities in this country are crazy, are mentally ill.
Yeah.
But so wait, how did that even happen? Like, where were you speaking out publicly?
On social media.
Oh, really? On social media?
I named the doctor that gave me the pill that caused this to happen to me. And I basically said, like, look, if in a couple of years I'm homeless and unable to paint and unable to hold a job because, of what was done to me, and I'm,
wow.
like, yeah, I might kill myself. And if I do, this is the person's name.
So that doctor basically felt threatened and was just like, I'm going to shore up my...
No, I don't think the doctor saw it. I was reported by someone I knew because they read that as a suicide threat.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like no, like I wasn't suicidal at the time. I don't currently want to die, but I'm like, it's a very it's a very like mechanical understanding of the concept of I know that there are certain conditions under which I would no longer want to be alive.
Yeah.
Like there were points only a month and a half ago where I couldn't speak.
Jeez.
And that went on for like 2 to 3 months that I was unable to speak for. And like if I was unable to support myself, not able to keep my home, not able to paint, not able to teach or use my mind, and not able to communicate with other human beings, hell yeah, I'd want to die.
Yeah,
And
I would too if I couldn't create and couldn't live a full life. Of course. I think any sane person would want to die.
I mean, there's different views on it. Definitely there was like a certain Catholic thing at the end of this where like the thought of suicide was like the fear of hellfire, like is there, which like I'm not practicing, but like, I was raised in that, and like they're definitely like I don't know, there's a certain level of superstition still there where like even if I felt I was entitled to release, I'd be trepidatious to do it.
See, I wouldn't be scared of that. The only thing I would be scared of would be just like the shame of giving up, like feeling like I didn't persevere and overcome.
Well, I mean, and I should probably, at this point, we've talked about it enough. I should mention what happened to me.
Yeah.
And okay, so I took a drug called levofloxacin. It's a fluoroquinolone antibiotic, and it was given to me for an infection that probably didn't exist anymore. Like, basically, I stubbed my toe, needed the nail removed. There was some fluid under the nail. They took a sample of the fluid. By the time the results gave back, the inflammation from the injured nail was gone. And the doctor's telling me it's not infected. Like, yeah, there was a bacteria in the fluid under the nail, but it's not like you're not infected, you're okay.
Hmm.
But the doctor who took the sample is like, oh no, this is a very dangerous infection, and you can't be too careful, and nothing bad will happen to you
Oh my
if you take this drug.
Oh
And
god.
I pick up the drug at the pharmacy and I look at it. It says stuff about like tendon damage. Some of this is really scary. And the doctor says, nope, nope, you're in so much danger, and nothing that there's crazy side effects on everything, and it never happens to anyone. You have nothing to worry about. And I got that from two other doctors. And
Wow.
I said, you know what, I'll take one pill and see how it works. 2 days later, the back of my knee blew out, and at this point, initially it was all in my knees and feet, but because it's tendon damage, my tendons get very weak, and then once they're weak, they can be injured easily. And if they are injured, they don't heal properly or at normal rates. They slowly seem to get better, but then easily get injured again. Because when I was hospitalized for being depressed, that my legs don't work and I can't do my job, I was given another drug that interacts with it. That's one of the scary things about fluoroquinolone antibiotics. Doctors will deny this, but there is a community of thousands of people who have suffered from this thing, who've basically gotten shut out of the medical community because
Jeez.
they're inconvenient. And they all agree, yeah, for the rest of your life, if you take any drug that like would interact with the drug, while like it says don't take these two drugs at the same time because they'll interact. If you ever take one of those drugs again, there's a decent chance that you're going to restart your reaction all over
So
again.
it stays in the body?
It's supposedly out within like 48 hours. There's some disagreement. No one really understands this because no one's done enough research.
Hmm.
I guess it's not profitable. They, where was I? So some people think it actually alters your DNA, or that it affects like the mechanisms that provide for healing. But that the drug isn't sitting there in your body, but that somehow it makes actual changes to your body that
Whoa.
causes symptoms anyway. So that's a
Crazy.
technicality. And, I'm talking about science I'm not an expert in, and science that isn't actually being pursued scientifically, because there's definitely like there's a lot of money made on this drug. Over 20 million prescriptions a year in this country. Very widely used, and many medical professionals will agree it's overused. A very powerful antibiotic that is useful for things that are resistant to other things, but like people just prescribe it for UTIs because, well,
Jeez.
it's powerful, it'll work.
Oh my god.
So yeah, a lot of people have gotten the effects I'm describing, and like my condition keeps me from working, and that's terrible. But like my symptoms are mild.
Wow.
Um,
What's like a really severe case?
There's people who get tinnitus, ringing in the ears, brain fog where they can't think, pain all over their body. I don't have pain. I have weakness, and like if I try to like run or climb stairs or do normal people things, my tendons will injure themselves.
Huh.
But I'm, unless I have a localized injury, I'm not in pain. There's people who are bedridden with pain. There's I'm trying to think of some of the other nightmares. Some people go blind.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a nightmare thing that can do all sorts of stuff, and it basically you live with it for the rest of your life.
You were saying you couldn't speak? Like what was that?
Well, so all of my problems, I've had a couple of neuropathy, like tingling and lack of feeling in my hands and feet that usually goes away after about a month. But one of the times where I had a secondary reaction was it migrated to my groin and lower abdomen, and the area in my lower abdomen was so fragile that it's parts of your body you never think you're using until you realize it because
Right.
of an injury.
It's like when you cough, like
Yes,
that kind of.
I didn't cough or sneeze for 3 months by
Holy
sheer will. I just didn't. Because it would have torn the connective tissue in that area
Oh
apart.
my god,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And yeah, I couldn't talk without causing a problem in that area.
So have you been able to paint?
On and off. When it's been worse, I haven't been able to. When it's been better, I have.
Okay, well, at least you can paint a little bit.
Yeah.
It's better than not. Holy hell. So has your job been like pretty good about saying like you can come back when you're able to?
Yeah, I have basically a school year where they're gonna have someone, sit in for me. If I don't get better in the next year, I don't know if they're gonna hold it to me past that. It'd be very generous if they did.
Yeah.
And I mean, lots of people lose their jobs, and it's like, oh, you lose your job, then you lose your insurance. And I mean, look, the amount of money you get on if you go on disability is not enough for sustainable living, and certainly not sustainable living and also like taking care of your body, eating proper food. I've had to change my whole diet because of this condition. So like, I'm definitely eating like healthier food, but I couldn't afford that if I was, on just a disability check.
Right.
So yeah, like I mean, people become invalids basically over this drug, and it's and the others like it. Levofloxacin, which is the generic. By the way, people, you can't sue for damages caused by a drug unless it's the brand name drug. And if you're 80% of the population, your insurance is not covering the brand name drug. So good luck with that.
Jeez.
Yeah, you can't sue.
So who's producing the not brand name version?
I'm not sure. I could look it up if I
But it's just not someone who you can sue. Why can't you sue them?
because they're basically the companies that produce the generics are using the same formulas and everything as the people who developed and are producing the brand name drug, but those are the people who fulfill all the requirements of this is the form that lists all the side effects and dangers. The people producing the generic have to use the same form. So if the form doesn't go into enough detail about the danger, and those are the legal grounds upon which people sue, they're not culpable because they didn't develop it. That's the legal logic. And, I get how that logic works, but the problem is we have, tens of thousands of people in this country who have no recourse for, life altering disabilities brought on by, prescription drug interactions.
That's crazy. That's a definite blind spot in the system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost like the medical equivalent of a shell company. It's just like, do, are the are the pharmaceutical giants basically complicit in this, or do they want that to be the case?
Do they want people? Well, I don't think they care.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a particularly desirable thing because basically, you can't buy more drugs once you're on this thing. Like, there's no drugs that can really make this better. And most drugs that if you take once you've been affected by this will make it worse. So it's not creating like, a captive market.
No, I mean, are they complicit in the 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 legal implications of generic drugs?
Oh, I'm sure it was lobbied for. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I mean, I've never looked into it, but I mean, if I was a lobby group for these people, like, of course, that's something I'd lobby for, and who'd stop me?
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. So what's your plan? Like you're trying to change your diet to make it your recovery as speedy as possible or as likely as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I take certain supplements that are help some people. Again, this is all basically like a community of support of victims who've been abandoned by the medical community, who've basically through experience like this helped me. And it's a network that's kind of created from that. So I take a lot of magnesium, like over 1,000 milligrams. I'm 30 years old. I weigh 180 pounds. I'm 6 feet tall. have a very handsome beard, an excellent profile. My nose is, I think,
Very distinguished.
yeah, distinguished is the word I would go for. Um, so, if you're interested in dating a man who can't walk,
If you have that Florence Nightingale within you.
oh my God, I'm like a beautiful man made of glass. So, like, if that's your thing, here I am, ladies.
And he's quite a great painter, so
I'm very talented.
it's pretty beautiful paintings, I'm sure. If you had-
Well, I could plug my website, Stambo42 at gmail. Not doc. No, I guess it would be .com. I don't know.
Not
Stambo
Gmail.
40. No, Stambo42. That's my email. Okay, everyone, email me. We should cut that out. What you call it? Stambo42. It's either .blogspot or @blogspot, but the be all and end all is if you type in James Stamboni, I've got a really convenient name for show business because there is nobody named. Well, there's my uncle, but other than my uncle, there's no one in this country named James Stamboni.
Nice. Yeah, definitely check out your paintings, and I'll post the link in the notes and everything.
Sweet.
Yeah,
But
I want to talk more about Clearview, though.
yeah, let's go back to that.
Let's travel back in time before drugs ruined your life, but
Yeah.
legal drugs.
Yeah, it's true.
So, okay, you were there since you were, what, 7?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So do you remember, like, how you found out you were going to Clearview, like what your impressions were?
I was so young, it was all a blur. I remember I wasn't going back to high school. My parents were very upset and stressed out about this, and I kind of just went off in my own little world and was like, whatever. I'll go wherever I'm sent.
Yeah. Did you always who did we have? Like, we were in class together for a while with what, Miss Fisher?
We had Fisher together. I remember that name. Yeah.
Did you have her before? Like, do you remember if you started with her?
No. The woman I had the first year was named Miss Grimaldi, who I barely remember, but I had a very good impression of. I was very young, but I liked her a great deal. I'm trying to. At one point, I had Miss Rivera.
I remember Miss Rivera. She was cute.
I'm sure she's flattered to hear your thoughts on that.
I know.
What you call it? I think Miss Cronin.
Yeah, I remember Miss Cronin.
Her I liked a great deal. I liked
She
both
was real
of them.
nice.
And there was definitely like some other people in the intern, but those are the one I remember the woman I had the first year, and I remember the 2 women I had when I was older. There's probably some other people I had when I was elementary age that I don't remember as clearly. Fisher may have been one of them.
I remember Miss Fierez, I want to say.
Yeah, that's the name I recall.
I always think of her because I always see Left Terrace Gyro, and that was her family's business.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we
That's
ate
really
there
cool.
once. Like, it was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, but anyway, so I mean, I just remember it was 5th grade I got expelled out of,
Yeah.
and
It's a good time to get expelled, though.
yeah, I guess so.
Well, that's the most positive thing I think I'll say about Clearview is because of Clearview, I didn't go to public school during middle school. And I believe that there are many things I am proud about myself that would have gotten crushed if I'd been in middle school. Not necessarily by the system, but by the peer group.
Wow.
I like to think I'm a pretty compassionate and person, and I think a lot of my desire to understand people who are different from me would have because I would have been a target and a half.
Yeah.
And I think I would have turned very bitter and angry.
You've been a goth kid.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have gone that far. I say this, some of my favorite students are goths, but I could never, I don't think I ever, no, I wouldn't have been that style conscious, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I probably would have dressed in really boring clothes and had a really boring haircut and just been just a dork.
See, I think the opposite. I think I would have gotten laid way earlier in life if I'd gone to middle school.
Andrew, I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
I felt like I got held back 4 years sexually.
Oh no, that's actually, it was a tremendous impact on me. And I can talk about that. So yeah, there maybe 3 female students in all of Clearview out of like how many, over 100 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like there were sexuality is learned behavior. I firmly believe this, based on just, well, not like a person's sexuality, but like every aspect of courting and romance is all incredibly learned behavior.
Yeah.
So my first exposure to a female peer in my young adult life was at 16.
Hmm.
And I basically did the learning you do in middle and high school in college. And yeah, like my dating life didn't exist for undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I just didn't know how to like interact with women without coming off completely just either boorish or creepy or,
Yeah, me too. Or just like too nervous to like be enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a drawback of Clearview. I mean, at least there were cute teachers, but they're not interacting with you. Like,
On that level.
I do kind of remember Miss Rivera treating me a bit like a friend, and then I would always go and ruin that trust by like acting like an asshole.
Mm,
So
that's an important developmental stage.
yeah, it is. Don't be an animal. But yeah, okay. So I don't know, man. I just remember them bribing us. This is not necessarily completely negative, but I just remember they had like this not ornate, but this intricate system of like stars. If you get stickers, you get a certain amount of, you can trade them in at the end of the week for items. Like I remember Miss
The
Fisher.
school store, yeah, that stuff existed, yeah.
Miss Fisher had like a piece of the Berlin Wall that you could buy for like whatever 60 stickers.
Oh man, I must not have been politically conscious at all at that age, because otherwise I would have remembered that and thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I remember buying like they would like buy legit items for us, like Calvin and Hobbes books. Like,
Yeah, I bought some comics back then.
yeah, it was cool, and I think they were by request.
Yeah.
It was pretty dope, but also weird.
Yeah, and I mean again, for the kids who like ourselves who were more higher functioning, a lot of that stuff was transparent and like, well, I'm not going to say no, but at the same time, like I totally don't need this.
Yeah,
But, again, like it's in a classroom, you think of the needs of all your students. And I think structurally, some of the kids really did need that as motivation or, as a form of stability or just as a form of relaxation.
just a way to connect good behavior with good results.
Yeah. Which, by the way, people, that's not how the real world works. So, like,
It's true.
yeah, like I've been marvelously well behaved and, they took my legs.
Yeah. I also remember them kind of like picking at neuroticism in a weird way.
Really?
Like I'm trying to think like what they did for me. I'm sure there were things, but like I remember there was one kid, Adam, who would always like walk by people's desks and touch their desk. And that was like a sticking point for the teachers. They'd be like, no, don't do that. Stop doing that. And then there were like, do you remember Sam?
I do.
A kid who could like, you could give him your birthday and he'll tell you what day of the week it'll be.
Yes, he had like an encyclopedic knowledge of hockey, I believe, as well. There's a different kid who had it for baseball, but he was hockey.
We should have started a sports betting league.
Oh my god! No, I mean honestly, if that kid wanted to run numbers today, he could probably be a millionaire. But
Yeah. And he would always sing like stuff from Doug and be like, Patty mayonnaise.
yeah, no,
Right.
it's an interesting thing is like the fixations that some people develop. And Sam was a smart kid. I mean, we all had our issues, but he was
Definitely a
smart
sweet kid,
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
too. Very nice kid.
But I just remember the teachers getting on him for like doing the patty mayonnaise thing, which I can understand. Like, I guess they're trying to get people to act normal so they can function in society.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but it also just kind of seemed like, I don't know. It was also kind of like you're picking out people's personalities.
It's a rough thing, and I mean, in education in general, I can say like, what are you here for? And it is, you're trying to prepare kids for the real world, and I think there's so many structural failures, and ways in which our education system doesn't do that, but that yeah, for like kids with these kinds of neuroses, like teaching them how to turn it off when it's
Hmm.
socially unacceptable is it's something they have to master.
Yeah.
What the limitations of that are, what like it's not my specialty, so I'm not gonna like try to speak too much on that. But yeah, it's part of the job.
It's definitely a fine line to walk, but
Yeah,
and not an enviable position to be in as a teacher, I'm sure.
yeah,
The thing I most resented about Clearview was their trigger happiness with restraining kids.
yeah. That's an interesting thing in general, and I don't think you were in this, but I got for many years was sent to holding where like you didn't even have to do something inappropriate, but just once a week you were sent, and basically restraint, it's a technique, they're obviously trained in it so that they don't actually injure the kid, but where you like if a kid is misbehaving, and sometimes misbehaving meant like being a danger to themselves or others in this place. So like, full context, but yeah, like you basically pin the kid down and use your body weight to like restrain them. And what I was in holding is once a week, one of your parents comes in with your therapist. Every kid had a therapist,
Hmm.
and like two other adults, and they'd pin you down and force you to talk about your feelings,
Yeah.
which was weird to me because I've always been a very verbal person, and like it's not hard to get me to talk about my thoughts.
Yeah, where does that theory come from that you need to hold a kid down?
I have no idea, and I'm really curious if it's still active or if it was something that was like in vogue in the '90s that later was like, Actually, we've done more research, and the findings don't support this at all."
Yeah.
Um,
Practicing wrestling and jujitsu on children does not make them more emotionally in touch.
yeah, I'd love to see the research that produced that technique.
Yeah. Well, I just remember at least one time
Hmm.
where I was restrained for no reason.
Yeah,
Like I remember we playing dodgeball in gym,
yeah,
and after dodgeball we would line up and like high five each other, handshake,
yeah.
and you remember Colin?
I do remember. I'm still in touch with Colin, actually.
So there were all these like cycling rivalries and factions, and like
Yeah.
sometimes you would pick a person to hate for a while and then you'd mend your fences and whatever. But for whatever reason, I hated Colin for a while, and then when it was time to shake hands, I like took my hand away, like like I'm gonna shake your hand, but no,
Yeah, you're a jerk.
yeah.
The kids are jerks, like that's what they do.
And the teacher, the gym teacher, saw that, and she thought I was picking up my hand to like hit him,
Oh,
and she restrained me. But she insisted on, it was like a confession. It was like a forced confession. She was like, just say you were going to hit him, like admit you were going to hit him and I'll let you go, and I'm on the hardwood floor with her restraining me. So it did kind of hurt. It was not comfortable restraining.
I'm reading a book right now that touches on the Spanish Inquisition. If you'd like to borrow it afterwards.
to relive that experience.
No, but yeah, and that's something I've had a moment like that as a teacher, where I was, for reasons of my own, kind of on edge, and I pride myself. I've said this before, with I think earlier in the podcast, with like trying to see things from a student's perspective so that I can make my classroom a place where they can succeed. But was basically a step away from a fight, or like the fight was about to begin. It was right in the beginning of class when I am like getting everything set up, and not the time to like misbehave, because the system that makes everyone feel comfortable and ready to learn is being set up, and now is the time you choose to like get in a fight with this kid. And I lost it. Not that I blew up in the kid's face, but I used a power that other teachers use rather liberally and told him to go stand in the hall. And, you know, I fell on that one kid harder than I would have if it hadn't been in that moment, which is something I told him later. But it's like, the core thing is like I read the situation as more dire than it actually was, and I overreacted. I didn't throw a kid on the floor because that's not how we do things at public high school.
Yeah.
But the basically the dom it's the same set of dominoes how that works. But like, yeah, it is kind of like crazy to think that you're in a situation where the consequence of the dominoes is getting slammed onto a linoleum floor.
Yeah, it's just a weird situation being a kid, having an adult like holding you down, trying to get you to say something you know is not true, that they're determined is the truth. And you like, do I lie and tell them what they want to hear, or do I just like do what I know is true in my mind and just deny? And I think I did just keep insisting that I wasn't going to hit him. And eventually she let me up like 30 minutes later or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but I will say this: I don't think that experience is exclusive to Clearview, and I think that that's actually a fairly universal experience of childhood. Is like, an adult deciding that you were in the wrong on something that they misread, and putting you in a forced position of like, forcing you to confess, possibly with the threat of, some manner of physical consequence. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but the fact that it was already physical and it was just like a weird thing. It was like, okay, so if I did admit it, like what does that mean? Like there was no future tense. There was no like if you admit it, then this is going to be forgotten. There was just like admit it now and you're in pain,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Like a child can't think straight under those conditions.
Yeah, and it also just doesn't make sense from a disciplinary point of view.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to know like what was it like when they did transition you back to public school?
Um, I was terrified that I wasn't smart enough. It took me about a year to figure out that I was smarter than most of the people in public high school.
Mm.
And I was always assuming that I was going to something that I was over my head. And certainly there were organizational challenges because there's a lot of hand holding that went on in Clearview.
Hmm.
So there were organizational challenges that I faced, but I met them. I got pretty much straight A's. There were like two classes I got B's in. Um, and yeah, I did fine. I made friends with a couple of cool nerds. Um, like as we've established before, I didn't get around to any dating because like I didn't know how to interact with women romantically at
Hmm.
all. Because I'd been isolated for them for the past, I think, 9 years in my case. Um, but yeah, like I had a really good experience. The other thing is like because just the idea of going to high school seemed like a distant goal. I had no concept of what college was,
Right.
which maybe most high schoolers don't really. But like, I just kind of like, I was lucky to have parents that wanted me to go and that it just kind of was made to happen for me because otherwise I wouldn't have thought to do it.
I didn't go directly to college. I took a year off
Hmm.
and just went to Thailand and to Japan and just like road tripped and did all sorts of crazy shit. And then I like under duress, under guilt trip, I went to college and then I failed out,
Hmm.
went back to Asia, then went to college again. But yeah, no, I mean, did they put you in like just normal high school? Because with me, they put me in like a special ed thing.
No, it was normal high school. They had like a special ed program within the high school that for the first year I had like two or three of my classes in, which definitely helped lighten the load. The expectations weren't as high. Um, and what you call it? I by the second year, I think I was pretty much all independent, just taking normal classes. And then I went to college and pretty much got straight A's there as well. So I mean, like, it's kind of weird to think how much of my life, but certainly like my psychological or mental attitude when I was younger, like I couldn't have handled middle school.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just remember being a kid and not having a concept of thinking before I acted. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I can remember.
why? What do you remember?
Oh no, I just like the things that would come out of your mouth.
What?
And I thought they were hilarious at the time, and my father hated them. I was like, I don't know about that kid.
Wait, what? What did I say?
Oh, I'm a teacher. I'm not repeating this
Oh,
stuff.
come on,
But
I
my
need to
father
know.
was convinced that I was learning all sorts of horrible language from you.
The listeners need to know what horrible.
I have a clear memory of us riding bikes and you singing songs about various parts of your body.
Okay,
Yeah.
man, I wish you could just whisper it into my ear and then I could sing it.
I can indicate on the doll.
Well, I want to know specifically because
Oh, I don't remember the song. I just know
damn
what
it.
you were singing about.
I wanna write
I thought
those
it was
lyrics
very
down
funny
and
because
add 'em
I
to
was
my
8 years
act.
old. It's like, wow, that kid said wiener. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just remember when one time I was getting restrained. I repeated something I heard on South Park.
Oh my God.
Like I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna dig up your grandma's bones and fuck her corpse," like telling that to the teachers as they were holding me down.
That's inappropriate. I'm sorry. I'm like the Captain America joke in the Avengers movies, like language.
Yeah,
Oh God.
but anyway, I think we basically covered the bases.
All right.
I mean, I don't know, man. I just I think the school system and our parents did the best job they could with the information around and the support system around, but I don't think it was the best job possible. That's just I think the school system in general is a broken thing and doesn't really do a great job of catering to the vast diversity of children's mental states and inevitable areas of strength and weakness.
No, I can agree to that wholeheartedly. And I mean, even the school I work with, which I'm very proud of the work I've done there and of the building and the people there in general. Like, I mean, being close to certain students, like, I hear from them, because I'm a teacher that gets confided, and I hear about the ways in which they are very aware that the system is failing them. And it's definitely difficult to hear, an articulate and intelligent child like telling you why and how they're not getting the support they need. And it's every bit as frustrating seeing a kid who isn't as articulate, who may be just as intelligent or may not be, having the same problems and seeing what's wrong and knowing that there are structural things in the system you work in that prevent you from helping them,
Yeah. And it's also a lot of it's societal too. Like it's just certain communities are underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
Certain, if your parents are uneducated, they're coming to things from a different perspective, and that's not necessarily going to help you have the best life.
I mean, the most massive difference I can think of right off the bat is if you're a child that grows up in a house that has books in it, you have a tremendous advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous. Because reading comes down to everything. I mean, I work in a district where many of the kids are bilingual, and a challenge many of our students face is that they're not fully literate in either English or Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And the kids who come from other countries speaking only Spanish but being fully literate in it are better off.
Wow.
Because if you're fully literate in one language, it's easier to learn another.
I've never heard that. That makes complete sense, though.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's definitely, I think, a huge challenge. If a kid doesn't grow up around books, and it's worse because if they don't, it's not only that they're unfamiliar with them, they'll probably perceive them as a hostile or threatening thing. And yeah,
That's not good.
nope.
I don't know. Do you if there were like one quick fix to the education system, what do you think it would be?
Shooting myself in the foot as this goes public, but I think one thing that that uses the structural nature of the system that could be of advantage is to disassociate local taxes from the funding of schools.
Okay, so everything has equally good funding.
Yeah,
That makes complete sense for
yeah.
sure.
And I mean that would be a huge disruption to the current system because basically low income schools are competing for funding and grants and all these other government handouts that they get little bonuses for performing well, whereas the schools that are well funded just perform well anyway for
Yeah.
various reasons, and they don't have to worry about that. But it would remove this whole like competitive thing, which by the way, when you have the problem of low income schools inflating grades, well, part of it is just so that they can get funding.
Get a normal, reasonable amount of money coming into their school.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would like to think that a change like that could fix a lot of the remedies. I think another problem is just like we have unrealistic expectations of our system. The countries that we compare ourselves to, Western Europe, and I like to say Imperial Asia, because there's really three countries we're talking about. We're not talking about Laos
Right.
when we say we're talking about China, South Korea, and Japan.
Singapore too, probably.
Yeah. But these countries that we compare ourselves to, they don't educate everyone. By the time you're at their equivalent of high school level, in most cases, you've been tracked into either you're going to college or you're going to, vocational school. And there's advantages and disadvantages to that, because certainly like some people are late bloomers, and to get shut out of, higher education because you had a weird phase in middle school is not good. But the reality is when you compare our test scores to places like that, well, we're testing everyone. They're testing the people who are going to college.
Right.
Of course, they're going to perform better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if we're doubling down on giving everyone a high school education, and there's arguments for and against that, and I will certainly say I think we should remove the stigma that's attached to vocational school. I love the idea of a liberal arts education that everyone gets at the college level, but I mean, so long as it's the students and families' choice to go a vocational route, it's more helpful to a lot of people.
Right.
And I think we need to remove that stigma in this country. We need to provide more resources to that. And our vocational schools need to provide education for jobs that are going to exist in 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Which might be zero.
Well,
not zero, but very small.
If the world is run by communist robots in 40 years, I mean, there will be no jobs. I don't know if that'll be better or worse. I guess it depends if they've herded us all into pens by then,
Yes. And on that note, find James Stamboni's art. Google James Stamboni. And
STA, M as in monkey, B as in boy, O, N as in Nancy, I.
Yeah. And if you haven't left a review on iTunes, just please do on Weirdball. And yeah. Thanks, James.
You're welcome. Good catching up.
Yeah, we got to do this again. This was fun.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the episode. Yeah, it was a good one. It was fun. I'll probably have James back again because it was great to catch up. It's always great to catch up with him. Big shout out to Matt Fass, my buddy. We used to play in a band together. He did the intro and the outro music, and shout out for the song that's gonna play after this to Rodney Seay. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Seay. I know him from Instagram, and he's got some great country bluegrass and blues type music. Yeah. What else? What else is going on? I'm recording this right before I go to late night at New York Comedy Club. Gonna go hang out with Brett Klein from episode whatever 45 or whatever. I'm gonna smoke a cigar, which I never do. That'll be fun. That'll be nice. Um, yeah. I went on a date yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if I should be dating. I don't think I should be, actually. I think it's a bad idea, okay? Because, not that I'm not over Amanda. I mean, I'm mostly over it. But I want to just focus on comedy and focus on my life. But, yes, yeah, I long for the touch of a woman. And the emotional thing too. That's important, but I don't think it's a good time, but I'm going to date anyway cuz I'm an idiot. Cuz I'm only human. Cuz I'm only freaking human. I went on a date Monday. That was pretty bad. I mean, she was all right. She was nice, but it was kind of boring conversation, you know. You know it's not a great date when you're asking most of the questions or when she's asking most of the questions. Either way, you're not comparably interested in each other, which is not a good thing. And I went for the kiss at the end of the date. We got a little tipsy off of 2 margaritas, and I went for a little kiss. I mean, I didn't even go for it. I kind of like made it known that I was gonna kiss her by like looking into her eyes very dramatically, which is probably it was probably weird and creepy. Who knows? I don't know. I would have to see video footage of it to know if I was creepy or she was just being weird. But either way, she went for the hug, and it was kind of a almost sexual hug, but it was very awkward. It was a very awkward end to the hug and walking away. I was probably visibly disappointed, and I don't know what was going through her head at all, but I don't think there's going to be a second date. Let's just put it that way. Let's put it that way. Oh my god. What else? I've been going hard in the sauce on comedy, you know? I've been just grinding it out. I mean, compared to some people and not compared to others, you know? I've been doing like 10 a week, and writing every day. Which, Osama, he was on episode whatever. Look it up. He works super hard, like 20 spots a week or more or something crazy. But yeah, I started going insane around 10 or 12. I just can't deal with performing in front of curmudgeonly comedians that often. Like I don't mind performing in front of people I respect so much as people who are just like I'm not friendly with, or who don't seem to like me. I don't know, or I don't know if they like me. I don't know. I get in my head about it. It's uncomfortable. But I love perform. If I was just doing comedy for audiences, I could do probably 20 sets a week. I wouldn't really mind at all. I mean, it'd be hard, but it'd be at least enjoyable most of the most of the time. Even when you have a heckler, I don't even mind hecklers. I don't mind drunk people so much. Like I did a bar show last week where this woman was drunk as hell, and she wasn't heckling, but she's like very conversational, and none of the audience was really in a mindset to have jokes told to them. But still, you know what? I'll take 10 minutes in front of that audience over 3 minutes in front of a bunch of comedians who are just fucking judging you and not even giving you a chance. and not very quick to laugh. I mean, that's it's that is necessary too. Like, I'm not saying I don't think if I was getting all these shows, I'd still want to perform in front of my peers, to get like an honest, professional or semi-professional perspective on my material, because if you don't have that, your material gets kind of cheesy and hacky. That's why they say when you've been on the road a long time, you stink of the road. That was from that documentary comic. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What else? What else? That's about it. Yeah, just do me a favor, just tell people about the podcast. If you like it, tell other people. Help me grow. Help me grow. Let's grow this shit together. Much love, everyone. And have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful,
when your
beautiful,
famous battleground just gets higher.
Good night.
If your kisses are as soft as mine, sad as the sky disappear, bring me down, baby, down to the ground where the sun shines, never rain. Bring me down from the clouds so I can feel your twist reaching arms around me. Out on a mountain, moonlight, stars shine, keeps me awake thinking of you through the night. So when day breaks, another morning's come. Just bring me down, bring me down. Let your hair run wild into the woods. Show me that smile that reaches the stars above. And don't be afraid, 'cause I'll still be waiting for you to bring me down, bring me down. Bring me down, baby, down to the ground where the sun shines, never rains. Bring me down from the clouds so I can feel your twist reaching arms around me. Your twist and reaching arms